Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, my dear beautiful girls? Inshallah, today I'm going to help you learn about the Third Crusade, the First Crusade, and Alramla Treaty. Of course, you know that the Battle of Hattin that we studied in the previous lesson had effects on the leaders of Europe. The loss of Al-Quds had a great impact or effect in the European West. So it results in calls for another crusade, which was called the Third Crusade. This aimed to recapture the city and get it back from the Muslims. In the meantime, Guy of Louisiana made an attempt to regain his power. Of course, you know that he was one of the leaders of the Battle of Hattin, one of the leaders of the Crusaders during the Battle of Hattin. When he was a slave, Salah ad-Din set him free and spared his life. But now he came back and tried to regain his power. He managed to gather a small army and besieged the city of Acre. Salah ad-Din was not able to lift the siege and free the people in the city. The people in the city suffered a lot because besieging a city means to surround the city and never to let anyone in or out. The siege continued for 2 years. Can you imagine this? To surround a city and never allow anyone to go inside it or go outside of it for 2 years. Both sides, either the Muslims inside or the Crusaders outside the city, suffered great losses from the fighting and also from diseases and famine. Famine means a shortage of food and starvation. Then the Crusaders began to receive reinforcements or supplies from Europe. The supplies arrived to help take over the city of Acre, so they managed to control or regain their power over the city of Acre. It was a coastal city. The Third Crusade that started between the years 1189 and 1192. If you are good at math, it means that it continued for about 3 or 4 years. This Third Crusade was led by many European leaders, including King Richard of England, King Richard I of England, this one, Philip II of France, this one, and the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. And the leader of the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, Barbarossa. That one. So we had Richard of England, Richard the first King of England, Philip II of France, and the Holy Roman Emperor Barbarossa. What happened after that? The emperor had raised a huge army of over 100,000 men to fight in the crusade, but he, the emperor of the Romans, drowned in a river in Asia Minor in modern-day Turkey on his way to the crusade. After that, his army scattered and many of the soldiers went home. So it means that Allah destroyed one of the armies of the Third Crusade. They drowned in the river. The rest of the Crusader forces finally reached the Levant, and when I say the Levant, I mean the Muslim lands in the east. They took over the city of Acre in the year 1191 after 2 years of besieging the city. The King of France returned to his country and left the armies under the control of Richard I of England. So, after they managed to regain their power over the city of Acre, the King of France left and Richard I of England became the only leader for the Crusaders at that time. What happened? Richard's army captured the city of Jaffa after a very big battle, and it became the base for the Crusader army. He twice tried to capture Al-Quds, but he was not successful at this because the city had been fortified by Salah ad-Din. So, the Christians during the Third Crusade managed to control the cities of Acre and Jaffa, but they failed to regain Al-Quds, even after trying for 2 times. Richard and Salah ad-Din then decided to negotiate a peace treaty. Negotiate a peace treaty means to discuss a peace treaty in order to stop the fighting. Although they never actually met face to face, there were negotiations which ended in September 2nd, 1192 AD with a 3-year peace treaty. The Treaty of Alramla. So Alramla Treaty was signed on the 2nd of September 1192 AD. Richard I left the Levant after signing the treaty. This officially ended in the Third Crusade. So the Alramla Treaty ended the Third Crusade. Also, Salah ad-Din died a year later. That was the end of the Third Crusade. But the Treaty of Alramla had some terms. The most important terms were, the first one, Al-Quds to be remain under the Muslim control. So it means that the Third Crusade failed to recapture it again. The Christians were guaranteed their freedom for worshipping and pilgrimage in the city. The coastal areas from Tyre to Jaffa remained under the control of the Crusaders. So, as a leader, Richard I signed the peace treaty and went home back to Europe. But the leaders in Europe did not like the results of the Third Crusade, and they did not like the peace treaty of Alramla. The aim of the Third Crusade had been to recapture the city of Al-Quds, which the Crusader called Jerusalem. They were not successful, and this led to further calls for yet another crusade, which was called out to be the First Crusade. So, the Third Alramla Treaty resulted in calls for the Fourth Crusade. This crusade took place between the years 1202 AD and 1204 AD, and it was not successful either, because we said before that the most important and the most successful crusaders was the first one. The armies of the Fourth Crusade did not even reach the Levant. Instead, the Crusaders went to the Constantinople to fight against the other Christian empire based there, which was the Roman Empire. Actually, the Fourth Crusade was one of the last crusades called by the Popes. Here, the rest of my slides, only you have 3 slides of questions. You can read them and study them from Classera. This is the end of the lesson about the Treaty of Alramla. We still have only 1 lesson left. Goodbye till we meet again, my butterflies.